Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Well, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to The Lock Shop. Dusty and Huss with you on a Monday late morning. Thank you very much for being here. My computer just ran into a problem and the device needs to restart. So we'll get that fired up. I read whatever is in front of me, Huss. It says we're just collecting some error info, and then we'll restart for you. So fingers crossed that it fires back up. How you doing, buddy?
I am.
Oh, you're flying high today.
I'm doing well. That if I have another day in 2024 as good as yesterday, when it comes to the Lock Shop and the old Coolbet account, I'll be very happy. Yeah, it all came up, Huss, yesterday. Started it off with a pretty significant wager on Alcaraz in the Wimbledon final. Followed that into the Scottish Open. Bobby Mack taking a very controversial drop on the 16th hole. Hey, whatever.
Didn't matter to you.
He got the eagle, sinks the birdie on 18 to win the Scottish Open at 40-1. Just what I needed coming into the Open Championship week. And then Spain gets it done. And I don't know, like, do I have the big brain belt now between me and Iwanek? He dropped the plus 675 big brain special, plus 725, nailing Spain.
I mean, you got the belt. You got the belt. That's what that says. That's exactly what that says. My goodness, buddy, what a weird, slow time of the year run, like for you this weekend.
I'll take it. This is often a time where I'm making a lot of frivolous wagers on things that I don't necessarily want to bet on. Can I interest you in the home run derby? We'll get to that a little bit later on. But yeah, overall, it's great. The only thing that didn't go my way yesterday was finishing up with a win in the Canadian Football League because the Elks found a way to lose again.
What are you supposed to say, Huss? Like, I said it on the broadcast with 56 seconds left. I said, with the way this season's gone, I kind of feel like the Elks are going to tie it and then lose on a walk-off. And sure as, you know what? They did. Like with 8, oh man, it was quite the morning on the Nielson show today. A lot of Elks talk, obviously. Like first of all, they could have ran that clock down to 1 second before snapping the ball on third down with Prukop. I mean, games, you either win, you're either tied or you're not. I mean, so instead they leave 8 seconds on it. And then the one thing you can't do in that spot is kick that ball out of bounds, and Beattie kicks it out of bounds. Chris Jones after the game said they wanted them to hammer it and try to win on a rouge, but he overkicked it and then yanked it and pulled it and bounced out of bounds. And then you still have a chance for your defense to stop Drew Brown. But Drew Brown, in 8 seconds, took 6 seconds, guns it down the middle to new kid on the block, Khalil Pimpleton, and sets up a walk-off win. Like, watching people walk up from the lower bowl at Commonwealth yesterday, that come up towards the broadcast booth and then head out, it looked like a bunch of zombies. Like, they were just like, it wasn't even like they were mad. They're just like, can't believe what they just witnessed. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this whole Chris Jones era has been such a mess. And the crazy thing about it is that, you know, the big offseason talk was, what's he doing with getting MBT? And well, that hasn't been the problem. They're putting up enough points to win. The so-called defensive guru either doesn't have the athletes or is not giving them a scheme where they can succeed. And defense is killing them right now. Drew Brown had obviously he was knocked out of the game against Winnipeg, but he has had a couple kind of pedestrian nights. That far from it last night. What, going over 400 in the air last
480. Night? He was like 26 yards away from Ottawa's franchise record, buddy. He had 3 different receivers over 100 yards. And they couldn't stop him. Like they couldn't stop him. And not bad for a guy who you're at the beginning of the week. You're like, oh, is he going to go? Is he going to go? And they needed that game. Like Ottawa, it's funny. We talked to Bob Dice on Zoom call last week. I guess it would have been on Friday morning. And we were asking him about, trying to get the offense going through the air. And he said, well, that's really not who we sort of think we are. Like we want to be a smash mouth football team with Armstead at running back. But, I mean, they got some weapons. We know Hardy's good. We know Rhymes has been good in this league for a long time. You lose Braylon Addison. With Jalen Acklin, I haven't even talked about. He's capable of going off for a game like that. Yeah. And then they mix in Khalil Pimpleton. And you see his 70-yard touchdown, man? That burst to the outside. Like, he found, like, a third gear that nobody else could just even remotely touch. I talk fast. I couldn't even keep up with him. I was like, this is unbelievable, this guy.
And on top of it all, Khalil Pimpleton, one of the great handles in all of sports as well. Every now and then you have a guy that just has a name that you'll never forget. Khalil Pimpleton is that he is that dude. So it ended up poorly for Elks backers like myself and the faithful at Commonwealth. I got to tell you, dude, and I'm looking forward to WST today. This city is still buzzing from that football game on Friday night.
How could you not be?
An absolute classic. And you know what? I went out after the game, as one does, got home relatively late and realized that the game was just being replayed on TSN2. And I'll be damned if I didn't stay up and watch the entire thing again.
Did you watch the entire thing?
I watched the whole thing. I was up till like 4:30 in the morning. But I mean, like every time there was some sort of a big play, you're like, oh, wait a second. In 2 minutes, I think this happens, or I want to see that again. I mean, I don't usually watch replays of games in its entirety, but that was the game to do it. I mean, honestly, the only thing missing in that game was a kick return or a punt return touchdown. Because other than that, literally everything happened.
I said that to Dunnigan, like in the final 2 minutes. And like the end of the first half, there was 3 touchdowns in a minute and 10 seconds. Like that was incredible stuff. Just the drama unfolding is so much fun to broadcast. But I said to Dunnigan, I think when we got to the 3-minute warning in the fourth quarter there, I said, the only thing this game hasn't had yet is a return touchdown. And I said, with the way this season's gone, I said, if I can get a return walk-off touchdown to win a game, I said, that'll be the end of me. I'll fall out of the booth. And he goes, and I won't be here to save you. He goes, because if that happens, I'm going to be on the other side of the glass in that booth smashing beers like Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was just like, yeah, because, I mean, that was it. That was the only thing that game missed. It had everything else. I mean, huge receiver performance, obviously, for Ontario Wilson. Or as somebody on Twitter said, I think the Earl of Eli said, more like Manitoba Wilson. You got to crank that up a notch. I think they call him Pokey. We were calling him Sticky. He was, targeted 16 times in that game. Seems like Kalara's found his new go-to guy.
Well, and listen, I mean, Zach, had been somewhat criticized earlier in the year by really just kind of focusing on either Dembski or Wolodarski.
A lot of Wolodarski too, yeah.
Or Brady Oliveira out of the background, out of the backfield. I mean, it didn't seem like he really had, a great connection with any of these new receivers. We can throw that narrative away because he obviously trusts Ontario Wilson enough to throw him 16 balls, 13 of which were caught, including a couple just circus catches, the one in the end zone where it was PI anyways, but he ended up coming down. But the funniest thing about that game is, like, from whether we're talking the Bomber offense, the Bomber defense, Calgary offense, Calgary defense, every unit had some real highs, but also some real lows. I mean, as I said, the game had a little bit of everything and came down to it. And listen, I will make this point with Hammer on the show later on when he joins me to talk Bombers today on WST. But I will make the argument that the Bombers' MOP through 6 games is Sergio Castillo. He has just been absolutely nails. And this is the thing is there was a time when the Bombers, the kicker didn't really matter very much because they were winning by 20. And you win by 20. Oh, you miss a couple of kicks, you win by 14. I mean, no one really talks about it. With the injuries the Bombers have and where they're at as a team right now, if they're going to be winning football games, they're going to be close games. And, making or missing a kick can often be the difference between winning and losing a football game. And, obviously he had a rough week 1. That was the chipped balls fiasco. Since then, he's been absolute money. He kicked the 60-yarders, kicked the 57-yarder. He's basically Justin Medlock right now with an extra 8 or 10 yards on the kicks. So he was, we don't talk enough about the kickers. He has been phenomenal so far this year. And as I'll point out with Jeff as well, you can see, having a reliable kicker is really important at a lot of times. Just ask the Elks. And we're not even talking about a field goal. We're just talking about a damn kickoff that ended up costing.
Well, I mean, kickers around the league coming into this week were over 92%. By far the highest of any season in the history of the Canadian Football League. Lewis Ward, Rene Paredes, and Sean White keep alternating for top spot on the all-time list. So the 3 most accurate kickers in the history of the game are competing right now. Sean White went 7 of 7 on Saturday, has now hit 39 in a row. Paredes hasn't missed yet this season. And Lewis Ward, I think, has now hit 12 or 13 in a row. And, of course, he had that stretch where he didn't miss, he hit 70 in a row, 68, 69 in a row or whatever it is, the all-time record. So kickers do need to get a little bit more love, I think, in this league. You mentioned it, Castile, 60, 57. I mean, these guys are just hammering that ball this year. And it's fun to watch. I've called 3 walk-off winners. We're in week 6. We're going into week 7. It's insane to say that. And that's only half of them. It's so much fun, man. I love calling walk-off field goal winners. It's just, it fires me up, man. Fires me up. It's a lot of fun.
I'll tell you what, the Bombers are happy that they were able to walk off in the victory formation.
Yes.
After getting the ball back. I mean, and the fact that they had 1 sack all game long. And when did they get it? When they needed it the most on that final drive as Calgary looked to come back. After O'Shea went for 2 to go up 4.
I know.
You don't make that, you're up by 2. And I didn't know it at the time.
Do you think he was thinking tiebreaker at the time?
Well, yeah. Why else would he do it? I mean,
I know, but if you don't get it and you lose by 1 on a field goal, I mean, all of a sudden you're 1-5. It seemed too ballsy a play just to have the tiebreaker to me in that spot, you know?
Well, I mean, it's totally out of the norm for Mike O'Shea.
Yeah,
there had to be something to it. In real time, I'm sitting going, holy shit, they're going for 2 here to get up by 4. He thinks that this defense is getting gashed so bad that Calgary can come down and score a touchdown. And at least if they get it to 4, they'd be down 3 and have the opportunity to tie it. That wasn't the case. I mean, they were thinking about the tiebreaker. And that was why they made it. But that game, as I said, it had everything. The most bizarre challenge I can remember in a long time that was successful that cost them 2 yards. I mean, what?
I forgot all about that.
We were all sitting around going, wait a second, what the hell is going on? Why would you do that? And apparently he was just so pissed off that the guy called it from the far side of the field. And he said, whatever, we're challenging this, even though it's going to cost us 2 yards to make a point. So
it was so funny because, I see the play blown down. I'm like, what's going on here? And then you see the challenge. I'm like, yeah, they're going to challenge. And right before we went to break, it clicked in my mind. I was like, yeah, but even if they win, where are they going to spot this ball? Where are they going to put it? Because they blew it dead before he was 8-9 yards up the field. So then we get into the commercial break, and they're like, okay, yeah, they're going to win the challenge. The ball will be placed 2 yards back where he caught it. And I was like, oh my God, they've won a challenge and they're losing 2 yards in the play. So then they come back, and whoever the official was it McInnes? Whoever it was like, the success. It's a challenge is successful. The place erupts. And then I saw the spot of the ball, and I knew it was coming, and I was waiting for the murmur. And there was just almost an audible WTF throughout Princess Auto Stadium when people realized where that ball was going to be placed. That's insane. What a weird.
That is exactly what happened in the stand. That was like literally, you could hear what the everywhere. Everybody in the stadium wondering exactly what happened. Anyways, unbelievable game. Unbelievable night, too. I mean, almost 30,000. It was hot. It was steamy. And everyone there got treated to a
It looked amazing.
game.
Looked amazing.
Big one. Are you doing the game in Regina on Friday?
I am. Well, I was going to say we might as well dive into what we think the lines will be. We're already on CFL. I'm flying into Regina Thursday morning, I think, and then the game's Friday, and then I'm flying to Calgary to do the Stamps and Lions. Anytime you can call the Lions right now, they're a lot of fun. So, I got 2 great games this week. That Bombers-Riders game, though, on a Friday night at Mosaic. Riders at 4-1. If they lose that game, Winnipeg goes to 3-4, and they're at 4-2, and it's on with the Bombers and Riders. So I cannot wait for that. And it's a doubleheader on Friday because Edmonton and Ottawa play again to start the week. This time out in Ottawa, that'll be the first half of a double dip on Friday night, and then Winnipeg, Saskatchewan will be the second half. What are we guessing the spread is in the Ottawa Edmonton game, buddy?
The Ottawa Edmonton in Ottawa.
In Ottawa.
I'll bet it's Ottawa -3. Well, we'll give them 3.5.
Yeah.
Ottawa.
Yeah. I don't think there's a debate coming from me on that one. I would assume that's exactly where that line will open. Ottawa -3.5 at home. What about the Bombers and the Riders, though?
Well, let's think about this. We assume that Shea Paterson will still be the guy, right? Like, I don't think Trevor Harris is going to be coming off. So assuming it's Shea Paterson, I am going to say it is Saskatchewan -2.
It's inside a field goal for sure. It's inside a field goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe. Now that's where it opens. You think that's where it closes? Or you think it closes closer to a pick 'em?
I think a lot of people are going to be. I think the Bombers are going to get a lot of steam right now. Well, and we saw it. We saw it on Friday with that game. Like, just from a betting perspective, huge opportunity. And this is why, guys, get your bets in when the lines come out. If there's a line that you really like, I took the Bombers in our picks on EST because Maddie sent it out early on in the week.
Yeah.
And they were 3.5-point favorites. I said, and by the way, I did call the Bombers by 4. So, I mean, it was an all-around great one. But anyways, took the Bombers at 3.5 earlier in the week. It was 5 the day of. Dude, that game closed at 6.5. So there was a huge middle opportunity. I mean, take the Bombers at 3.5 and then take Calgary at +6.5. And lo and behold, that sucker laid down right at 4. And you could actually have won bets on both sides. And to have a middle opportunity of 3 points in between 4 and 6, we don't get those opportunities very often. We got it on Friday night. But I think that just speaks to the fact that a lot of people are not putting much stock into the first 4 games of the year. The Bombers are getting going right now. And listen, now a big part of it, I think the hesitancy for people to back the Blue is the fact that Kenny Lawler's out and then Dalton Schoen is out for the year now.
Yeah.
The emergence of Ontario Wilson, I think, changes the narrative big time against the team. And as I say, that should be a great one. But yeah, I have a feeling that one opens at about 2. And maybe 1.5, 2.5. But I am with you. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets close to a pick 'em.
Rivalry game with the Argos going into the Hammer to take on Bo Levi Mitchell and the 0-5 Ticats. Toronto 3-2 after the victory over the Cody Fajardo-less Montreal Alouettes as he left that game. Toronto slight favorite in the Hammer against the 0-5 Ticats or what?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think they'll be favored for sure. I mean, especially when you consider what they did on the road last week.
By as much as 3?
Against, yeah, I'm going to say Toronto -4.5.
Okay. Toronto.
Think it'll be lower?
-4. Well, I don't know. Hamilton has a really good offense, as ridiculous as it is. Like, it sounds insane. So I don't. I mean, Edmonton was just favored at home, and they were 0-4 going into that game. I don't think Hamilton would be favored, but I wonder if it's closer to 3 than 4.5.
I just think that Toronto. I mean, like Edmonton was favored at home against Ottawa.
Yeah.
I mean, the Argos. I think the Argos made a huge statement last week with that win in Montreal. Now again,
without Cody Fajardo, though, I think what was the score when he got hurt? It was like tied, or it was close.
Yeah, it was close
when he got hurt, right? So I don't know. That's an interesting one to me. What about BC Calgary? BC rolls in at 5-1. Calgary, it's in Calgary where they're 2-0 this year. Calgary's 0-3 on the road, 2-0 at home.
I'll say BC minus 6.5.
Yeah, I think that's where it opens too. I thought it was gonna be right around a touchdown. So, I don't know if that number is gonna be tempting enough for me to get on Calgary though. I mean, BC's offense is just like we're sitting here. I know it's like almost a third of the way into the season here. So it's still early, but VA being on pace for just shy of Doug Flutie's all-time record and about to get Keon Hatcher back at some point right away. It's ridiculous what the BC Lions are doing offensively, man. Jordan Maximic is just a wizard as an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, well, they got a lot of tools right now, and VA's slinging it. He's looking great right now. They've been really, really impressive. We're gonna get a chance. So I guess Bombers go to Saskatchewan on Friday, and then I believe they have the bye after that. And then it'll be a big week of run-up and preparation for the Lions' visit to Winnipeg.
No, they go to Toronto on July 27th.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, they have. I think they play 3 more and then a bye. We were talking about this, so because it's a tough schedule. They get the Riders on the road, then they get Toronto on the road, then they come home for the Thursday game against BC, and then it's the bye week. So
I got you.
Chance to be 5-4 before going into a Week 10 bye week if they can run the table. I will be in Winnipeg for that Thursday night game between the Lions and Bombers. So inject that into my veins. That should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that one. And that's a double dip weekend too. What's that?
Half of the city is going to book Friday off. And to give yourself a nice 4-day long weekend. And that Thursday night is going to be like Friday night. The stadium will be full. Hopefully we get a great night again for it. And when you think back to the game between BC and Winnipeg over the last couple of years, I mean, they have been
slugfests.
They have been great.
They've been
even the one earlier this year. And again, it was a 2-point win for BC. It was really more. They kneeled down on the goal line at the end of the game. But yeah, no, I can't wait. I wait for it. Is there one other game that we didn't touch this week?
No, that's it. We hit all 4. BC, Calgary, Toronto, Hamilton, Winnipeg, Sask, Edmonton, Ottawa. First doubleheader for Friday Night Football of the season as well. All right, so that's a good look. We'll give you our CFL picks, obviously, a little bit later on in the week. Canadian soccer. We got to have this conversation. I mean, you're super proud of what they accomplished, but at the same time, you're like, how did it slip away, right? Like, it's frustrating to see the way it went down when it looked like things were trending in the right direction there.
Oh, my God. I mean, like, first off, unbelievable run for our team. I think that if you haven't yet sort of gotten on the bandwagon with our Canadian men's national team, what are you waiting for? Love our coach, this Jesse Marsh. I don't know if you heard that, him talking to the team afterwards in that big circle on the field as they were about to give the awards. I mean, this guy's a master motivator right now, seems committed to Canada, which is great because we know the USA was sniffing around him. And to do what he's done in such a short period of time after taking over, I think raises the level of expectation going forward for Canada. They should be high. I mean, as a World Cup host for 2026. The game on Saturday night, and it's funny, I did not watch a lot of the BC Saskatchewan game because we were all locked in on Canada and Uruguay.
Yeah,
I mean, it started off, giving up a goal like 6 minutes in, and a very surprising roster for the club right out the gate. Crepeau wasn't in net. You didn't see Eustáquio or Davies or Jonathan David, to start off. But man, Kone, like I thought that the moment of the tournament was going to be Kone kicking that guy in the ass with the ball and getting the best yellow card I've ever seen. That's number 2, because the bicycle kick goal that he scored to get Canada back to 1-1 was absolutely phenomenal. And listen, I think they deserved a better fate in that game. I mean, once again, they had some great chances. You'd love to finish a couple more of those opportunities, but David put them up. And, we were into the injury time with a 2-1 lead. And that's what made the end so disappointing. Like, honestly, in a third place game, would you have loved to win the shootout? Sure. But whatever. You just went toe to toe for 95 minutes with one of the elite teams in all of world soccer. Had to be frickin' the biter, Luis Suarez.
I know, of all people, right?
It was harsh to lose that way, but it doesn't take away from what this team did. And I got to tell you, there were some people that were unfortunately burnt on a bet or two, I'm sure, on that game. If you had Canada just winning one way or the other. And having Kone miss and then Davies put it off the crossbar in the shootout was disappointing. But I mean, honestly, takeaways from this entire run is just nothing but positive vibes for Team Canada.
Oh yeah, and I would agree with you. The nothing from positive vibes, which kind of leads into my next question, where I wanted to go with the fact that what are fair expectations for this group going to the World Cup? Like, what would they have to accomplish for you to say that surprised me? Like, how far do they have to get?
Well, it's funny because the World Cup is going to be 48 teams instead of 32. So it's much bigger. And I believe they don't go to a round of 16. They go to a round of 32. So for Canada, I mean, you have to get out of the group stage. And I would suggest it would be disappointing if they didn't make it out of the round of 32. Once you get to the round of 16, you're going to be playing,
then it's
depending on how the draw
juggernaut
shakes
after
out.
juggernaut, really, at that point.
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah. But here's the thing, man. I mean, you saw the way they played Argentina. You saw what they did against the likes of Peru and Chile and Venezuela, and then again against Uruguay. Like, if you're not drawing one of the top 5 teams in the world, I think Canada's got to feel like they've got a great chance to win. And this team's only going to be getting better. I mean, all the young players, like, that's the one thing. Think about the World Cup qualifying in the World Cup. I mean, this team is about Davies, David, Eustáquio, Kyle Larin, Sweatpants in net. He's gone. I mean, now Crepeau was phenomenal. He didn't play in the final game, but he was phenomenal through the tournament. Schaffelberg, the Maritime Messi, I mean, a star in the making right now. And the breakup performance of Ismail Kone, another huge, huge positive for Canada. So, there's been some guys that have been driving the bus for Canada for the last number of years, to get in the World Cup qualifying, to get to Qatar. What we saw in this tournament was another layer of talent kind of rising up and being a big part of the results. So good on them. The finals yesterday were, I mean, it was such an amazing sports day yesterday. Like, if you got up early and watched Joker and Alcaraz do it at Wimbledon, obviously I was preoccupied on the end of the Scottish Open. But man, I mean, a final of Euro between Spain and England, which was so much fun. I mean, great equalizer, and then the winning goal late by Spain, who was clearly the best team in the tournament and absolutely deserved it. And then absolute chaos down in Miami last night. Like, I mean, listen, the South Americans are built different. They'll just put it that way.
Yeah, I'll never view a raucous hockey crowd the same way after seeing how South Americans roll up for soccer events. Like, it's crazy.
Like, they basically bum rushed the stadium.
Yeah.
And just took over. And like, the escalators trashed now. I mean, there's some really scary stories of people that actually paid big money for tickets just trying to get in and take what was sold to them. And, their sections being run over by Colombian fans and, having nowhere to go, no one to help. You're just lucky. I mean, that situation has the potential of really becoming a tragedy. And I think they somewhat dodged some bullets, and that's why they ended up just letting everybody in, because they were legitimately afraid that there'd be some people that would lose their lives. So, but an absolute joke by the organizers. I mean, to be so unprepared. I mean, I can tell you from the World Cup in Qatar, much like going to a Super Bowl, like these stadiums are fortified and there are levels of security. I mean, you're going in one stage where you're, going through metal detectors and all that. And then once you get through that first area, there's a whole nother, probably a few hundred meters before you're getting to the next stage. And then you're getting into the stadium and moving in. And they just didn't have that. I mean, that was basically set up like a CFL game. You're just rolling up to the entrance. And then, there's 50,000 people that don't have tickets that are trying to find a way in. And I mean, as I said, it was scary. I kind of thought that game might not even go. But I think they were worried about what would happen if they canceled or put it off. But I mean, it was delayed for a good hour and 20 minutes, hour and 30 minutes. There's a bar down the street from my place, and the Colombians rolled in deep in on Corden yesterday.
Come on.
And oh yeah, yellow jerseys everywhere. It's the place is called Bar Italia, and it is often home for the Italian, but as the city becomes more diverse, it's just sort of been a place where everyone knows they can come to watch the game. It was taken over by English folks at for the early game, but the late game, it was all Colombians, and they were bringing it in a coffee shop bar in Winnipeg. I mean, I wonder what they were like everywhere, and they just saw what happened down at the stadium. So, anyways, it was a great tournament. I got the result I wanted. Shout out to a tie through 20 minutes. They played a little extra time. Argentina wins, but I'm gonna miss. I've had so much fun watching these games and betting them for the last little while. We now get to a very dead week on the calendar. Thank God we've got the Open Championship.
Yeah, that's a big one, right? Wednesday. We can maybe dive into a little bit more later in the week as well, right? So,
well, for sure. And like the next 2 days, I mean, we don't even have baseball.
We got the Derby tonight. We got some Derby picks.
We have the Derby. That's exactly what we're going to get to right away. Can tell you though, I mean, join us on Wednesday. Full final picks for the Open Championship. And you got to love winning a 40-1 banger going into a major as well.
You're spraying the board like crazy, right?
There's going to be quite a bit. Scheffler's the favorite at plus 525. Rory at 9. Ludwig Oberg, who had a really rough Sunday yesterday, 14-1 along with Xander. Bryson and Morikawa at 16. And then Tommy Fleetwood, 25-1. John Rahm, 28. Hatton, 30. Vic Hovland, 33. By the way, speaking of championship day for Spain, so Alcaraz wins Wimbledon. Spain wins the Euro.
And
we can't forget about Sergio winning on the Live Tour at Valderrama. So, yeah, I cannot wait for the Open Championship. Always one of my most fun. And hey, we gotta go. I will not be betting Scotty Scheffler. That may cost us. But
I know we'll get into this more as we work our way through the week, obviously with the Open Championship. But it is so weird seeing John Rahm at 28-1, down. When Rahm was on the PGA Tour, he was always up there among the Schefflers and Rorys, and it was 8-1, and Rahm's the favorite at 7-1, and now you're sitting here just looking at it, and I know the move to live, and he's dealing with injuries and stuff, but just seeing John Rahm at 28-1, buddy, just feels weird to me.
It is. He hasn't been very good this year. He took the money, and it hasn't helped him playing on the Live Tour. I think he misses the weekly competition that the PGA Tour gives him. But if he can step up and have a really good tournament, a lot of that will be forgotten. If he has another mid performance, I think there's going to be some real questions as to. I mean, listen, we know why he did it. They gave him like $500 million, so you take the money, but it's come at a cost to John Rahm. So yeah, Wednesday, big show in the Open Championship. Cannot wait to have the conversation about how Rory bounces back from the epic choke in the last major, and what we get from Rory at Troon as well. Hey, one other thing for the weekend, and obviously this is an insane thing to be talking about, but the assassination attempt on Trump was, I mean, like, I was so locked into all these things. And listen, I know people have very varying ideas of Trump.
I didn't even see it for like an hour after it happened. I finished working whatever I was working. I looked down. I was like, "What? What's this? Well, I missed this. I didn't see it." Like,
well, the one thing, the reason I bring this up on the Lock Shop is not to soapbox about anything like that. But I've been paying attention to the odds for the election, and I don't know. I think a lot of people thought that with what happened on Saturday, it's pretty much a done deal. I mean, it looked like it was all coming up there his way anyways. But I had been paying close attention to what the odds have been, and Trump was at minus 185 earlier last week. Then all that business with Biden happened, his interview, and he was at minus 200. Well, after the events of the weekend, he's now minus 286 to be the winner. And the Republicans are at minus 263 for the winning party right now. So I trust the odds at Coolbet a lot more than any polls going out right now. So take that for what it's worth. For the betting markets right now, a much bigger favorite than he was before. You can also get in on the nominee. Biden's back to minus 250 to be the Democratic nominee. So I guess he won't be he won't be bowing out. They won't be going with somebody else now.
Of course,
at least
you can also sprinkle the independent at plus 4,000. Right? Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Who is that guy? That Kennedy guy? Or
I don't know. I don't know who it is, but yeah,
good old days. Ross Perot. Back.
It was Perot forever. Yeah, I remember that name. Yeah. I remember that name for sure. All right, you can text us anytime if you are listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com. You can text us at 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. If you're watching over on YouTube today, hammer the thumbs up for us and sub to the channel. We're closing in on getting up towards 9,500 subs now. So give us a sub if you're watching live or a little bit later on as well. We do have the home run. Why did they, I don't know if you guys talked about this last week when I was gone, but why did they run the ESPYs last week and not save them for tomorrow? Like, what's that about? Are the ESPYs not usually the day after the home run derby?
Well, I think they were recorded. I think they'll probably, the All-Star game's the day after the
well,
derby.
then the Wednesday or whatever it is.
The Wednesday. So, yeah, I would assume, I think maybe they play them. I think that maybe they'll be on television.
Oh, but a bunch of it's already been spoiled online, though, right? Like,
oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, I don't know if anyone was really changing their plans around the ESPYs to begin with, but I know Mahomes won the top player, and like Lamar Jackson won the top play of the year from the Kansas City-Baltimore game. The pass that got deflected, he picked it up and ran for like 15 yards before getting tackled by Drew Tranquill. Like, that was like the fourth best play in that game. I have no idea how that ended up being the play of the year, but he got what it was. And Andy Reid had a great speech picking up the top player award for his guy, Patrick Mahomes. So anyways, if it's there, we'll do it. But I do love the Derby. I love betting the Derby, and our friends at Coolbet,
there's lots,
are locked and loaded. So we've got, here are the things that you can bet in. Obviously, who's going to win the Derby. There's also numbers on who hits the most home runs in round one. There is the player with the highest exit velocity home run, as well as the longest home run. So a bunch of different markets right off the bat for each one of the contestants. You can also bet the guys to make the Derby finals, to make the home run Derby semifinals. The League of the Home Run Derby winner AL minus 105, National League minus 115. There's an over-under on the distance of the longest home run at 484.5. Total home runs by the winner, 59.5. Now, this is something to think about. They have changed the rules this year.
Okay, so what are the rules this year? What did they change?
It's still the timed sessions, but I believe there's a maximum of 40 pitches.
Oh,
because remember before guys were like there was no limit and they were just taking.
J-Rod hit 41 in one round last year, right? So
now it's 40 pitches. So I'm kind of leaning the under at 59.5 for the winner. Like I think those numbers are going to come down somewhat. So that's kind of where I'm thinking right now. Will there be a swing off in any matchup? Total home runs in the entire Derby over under 269. It's 158 is the over under in round number 1. So yeah, listen, the account's looking good. There's going to be a ton of sprinkles on this. I don't know where.
Well, I've got a couple of picks just on guys to win it, but I did point out this morning on the Nielsen show we were doing the Coolbet hotline of the day that I do love the swing off at plus 275. I mean, all you need is one swing off in any matchup through the entire Derby at plus 275. I think that might be my favorite play of the entire Derby.
It'll be fun. I mean, I'm certainly here for the possibility of a swing off. And then you can also match guys with the finalists. Who you think is going to be? I mean, listen, Pete Alonso. This is sort of the Mets World Series, isn't it? Like every year, can Pete Alonso win the home run derby, and that would be the high point of the entire season.
I'm on Alonso. He's one of my 2 picks. I'm going a little bit chalky at the Derby. Alonso, he's competing in his 5th consecutive Derby. He won in 2019. He won in 20 and 21, trying to become the second or third guy to win 3 of them. The last 2 years, he lost in the semifinals to J-Rod. And then last year in the first round, J-Rod hammered the 41 single round record to beat him again. So the only guy he's lost to is Rodriguez in the last 2 years. So I'm going to roll one of my 2 picks with Alonso at plus 315 to go out and make it 3 of the last 5 years championships for the Mets.
Yeah, I am. I'm not on Pete. I'm going with my guy, Bobby Witt Jr.
Bobby Witt was my second choice. He's my other guy.
Plus 425. The natural, the beautiful swing. And listen, this is a fun thing. You can kind of pick your own guys. I do sometimes like to, sprinkle at the bottom of the board. Like my main pick is going to be Bobby Witt. But I mean, you look at a guy like Ramirez at 16-1. I mean, all it takes is just getting hot and just starting to feel it. And sometimes we've seen, I was in a derby pool. Our old pal Matt Leibel used to have a derby party every year. And we get together and we'd do a draft and everyone would put in $5 or $10 and we'd pick a guy. I had the 8th pick. So essentially I was just getting whoever was left over. I got Cespedes and he won the whole thing. So, I mean, there are times where guys lower down can win it and all of these guys can jack it. The funniest thing would be for Jays fans if Teoscar Hernandez ended up winning it right now, considering the season that the Jays are going through right now with the power outage. But anyways, I'm rolling with Bobby Witt Jr. at plus 425. I do like Pete Alonso plus 325 for the exit velocity prop. Like, I mean, dude just hits moonshots. So I think there's a reason why he's actually Bobby Witt is plus 250 on that. He's actually the favorite when it comes to exit velocity.
Well, I've got some numbers on this. And
Bobby's also a big favorite for longest home run.
Okay,
I may just spray the board with Bobby Witt.
let me lay out some stuff I got. I did some research on the home run derby today. Bobby Witt Alonso final is plus 950, by the way, if you wanted to ride with both of them. But Bobby Witt has, among the guys in this, elite exit velocity and the perfect 15-degree launch angle. Like, if you go and look at a lot of the numbers on these guys, you'll see some launch angles at like 9. They're loving the guys who are around 15. I think Alonso's close to that as well. So he's got that going for him as well. His longest home run of the season is 468 feet, which is the longest of any of the participants. And he's hit more 425-foot home runs this season than anyone in the field as well. And you must remember that hitting 425-foot home runs in the bonus period unlocks an extra out. So there's a few things that helped me back Bobby Witt as my number 2 pick. So I'm on Bobby Witt. I'm on Alonso. They're plus 315 and plus 425. And if you'd like them to meet in the final, it's plus 950.
And just in case people are wondering, there's no bracket to start off. I mean, before it was always those head-to-head matchups. There's no bracket now. Everyone goes up in the first round and hits as many homers as they can. The top 4 advance, and it goes 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3. So theoretically, anybody could meet in the finals. Yeah. But I'll ride with you on the plus 950 for the Alonso Bobby Witt final. And,
how amazing would it be tomorrow if we're rolling in here being like, Bobby Witt and Alonso, lock shop continues to be red hot. Like, that'd be great. I mean, with the run that you've been on, I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, take some time this afternoon. If you're going to be watching the Derby tonight anyway, if you want to dive into it, they got markets for everything for their home run derby tonight. So slide on over there at coolbet.com. And if you've not yet signed up for an account, use the code LOCKSHOP when you do sign up, and you will get a 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200. Go ahead, Huss.
There's just one other one. Most home runs by any player in first round, 27.5. I mean, if it's only 40 pitches, I think I like that under plus 105. Although betting unders in the home run derby seems somewhat sacrilegious.
Imagine being the guy watching the home run derby being like, no, another home run. This is ridiculous. I mean, you got to hit. Mind you, plus 105 is decent value because the over 27.5 is at minus 135. So there's different ways to enjoy the home run derby tonight, I guess, is what we're trying to let you know today. What's coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk, buddy?
You know what? Actually, the big brain himself, Awanik's going to jump on. I want to talk to him about we're going to pick his brain on. Well, listen, I want to talk, kind of moving forward, just his thoughts on the entire tournament for the Canadian perspective of the Copa. But I'll, of course, be asking him about the Elks. I'm sure he's got some takes ready to go on that. Jeff Hamilton from the Winnipeg Free Press will save most of our CFL talk for CFL 110, but really dive into the Bombers win on the weekend. And then Diana Matheson and Christina Litz coming on for the new Northern Super League to talk about the future of women's soccer in the country. And we'll lean on Di to talk a little bit about our women's national team getting ready to fire it up at the Olympics coming up. So, less than 10 minutes over at the WST. Join us. And hit us up with a sub while you're at it coming by.
Beauty, buddy. We'll talk to you tomorrow, man.
You got it.
There you go. That is Huss. Winnipeg Sports Talk coming up in about 6 minutes over on the WST channel. Spency 5 Centsy over in the Nasty Chat says, do we want dingers? No. Yeah, that's a nice way to look at it. Hey, everybody, let's just hammer unders for the home run derby and then sit back and enjoy it. I can't do it. Like Alonso, really like Bobby Witt as well. They're 2 of the top 3 favorites with Alonso at plus 315 and Bobby Witt at plus 425. I like the swing off option there as well. Now, if there's guys tied at 4 and 5 in the top 4 advance, would we see a swing off there? If not, you set up the swing off for the semifinal and the final, as opposed to the 4 first round matchups like in previous years. But if you like both Alonso and Bobby Witt Jr. to meet in the home run derby final, plus 950 would be the number. You can find that. That's not like a boosted exclusive or anything. It's just over on the Home Run Derby page. And if you go and check it out, you have to click on MLB All-Star, and then that will load, and then you'll see Home Run Derby at the bottom. Not really the bottom. It's in the middle of your screen, but hit Show Odds, and that'll give you everything you need on the Home Run Derby. The MLB All-Star game, which goes tomorrow, right now, the American League is a minus 118 moneyline favorite. National League at plus 100 on the other side of that. The total in the All-Star game, just 7.5 runs for that game that goes down on Tuesday. All right, that's going to do it for the Lock Shop. Brought to you by great partners over at Coolbet. If you've not yet signed up for an account at Coolbet, I mean, I don't know how you'd be on EST every single day and not have an account at Coolbet. And it doesn't make sense. It surprises me. My dad's got an account at Coolbet, for goodness sakes, and he doesn't even really bet on sports. He tries, but he doesn't do it well. Go to coolbet.com, sign up for an account, use the code LOCKSHOP, all one word, and you'll get that 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200. We've got the oil stream coming up live on Edmonton Sports Talk. That'll get rolling in less than 5 minutes. If you're listening on TuneIn, iHeart, or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, you'll get a small dose of Whale and the Wolf. If you're watching on YouTube, turn on autoplay, and that'll take you right on over. The Edmonton Oilers, Jeff Jackson, the gift that keeps on giving. The Edmonton Oilers pulling the trigger on a trade this morning. Tommy and I will dive into that one as well. Another Finnish player that I can fall in love with and die on the hill. Looking forward to that. Thank you very much for joining us in Lock Shop today. Good luck tonight if you are riding on any of those home run derby plays, and we will talk to you tomorrow.